Hello, welcome to Gus McDoll Strategy and Tactics, and thank you to our subscribers. In this series, we play through the 16 operations of the German Grand Campaign in Close Combat 3, the Russian Front. Please remember to subscribe, comment, share, and like the video. And if you want to show your support with a donation, the links are in the description. It is day 3 of 7 on Operation 9 of 16. Backhand blow. Manstein's attack. Now you can gain some measure of revenge for Stalingrad. Intelligence indicates the enemy's supply situation is critical and the Bolshevists will soon be unable to fight. Your objective is to sweep the Russians aside. Your command is still attached to the 6th Panzer Division. Our supply situation is greatly improved. You'll have no trouble refitting and replacing any of your units. You might even be able to add new units. You can sweep the battlefield north of the river from the 2 ridge lines in your possession, but the enemy can cover the first ridge with fire from the hills in his position. Consider using the frozen river as an attack route. You can advance, wheel north, and cave in the enemy's flank. The odds are in your favour. Don't miss your chance to avenge your comrades buried at Stalingrad. We start the operation with the same forces from the last battle. Von McDoll, Command Panzer IV F2. Group Leader, Commando Behorden, 1942. Heavy Infantry, Fallschirmjäger Sturmgrenadier, 1942. Heavy Infantry, Sturmgrenadier, 1942. Heavy Infantry, Sturmgrenadier, 1942. Machine Gun Infantry, Maschinengewehr 42. Machine Gun Infantry, Maschinengewehr 42. Heavy Tank, Tiger 1, Panzer 6E. Medium Tank, Panzer IV F2. Medium Tank, Panzer 4D. Heavy Anti-Tank Gun, 8.8 cm Flak 36. Heavy Anti-Tank Gun, 8.8 cm Flak 36. Anti-Tank Carrier, Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251x10. Another anti-tank carrier, also the 3.7 cm Panzerabwehrkanone. And a medium mortar 8 cm Granatwerfer. And that is Kampfgruppe McDoll. Let's examine the terrain and develop a plan. This is familiar terrain for the Kampfgruppe. East of the Dnieper River in Ukraine, the village of Shmela sits on the road from Krasnograd to Kupyansk. The village is nestled amongst north-south ridgelines leading to a river to the south with thick woods on either bank. West of the village, a stream runs from the hills down to the river. It is February 1943 and the whole area is covered in snow. The river is frozen over. I have marked 5 areas. Number 1, Hill 229 and the ridgeline to the west. This ridge is the tallest feature in the area, with a commanding view of the village and nearby ridgelines. It also controls movement along the road from Krasnograd. Number 2, the village of Shmela, consisting of 1-story wooden buildings. The village provides some concealment, but little cover, although nice warm places for the troops to sleep during the cold nights on the Eastern Front. Some fighting pits are dug to the east of the village. Number 3, Hill 226 and the ridgeline northeast of the village. A track runs along the ridgeline to the village. A number of fighting pits are dug in on the Ford slope, facing east. The ridgeline offers good observation and fields of fire to the east, and terrain shielding to the village, which sits to the west on the reverse slope of the ridge. Number 4, Hill 227 and the ridge. The eastern slope provides the Soviets with terrain shielding against observation and fire, and is a likely forming up point for vehicles. At the southern end of the ridge, a pair of buildings sits along the road to Kupyansk. Number 5, the ford across the river leading to Golkov's house. The river is frozen, so passable to vehicles and infantry along its length. A series of fighting pits face east, either bank of the river. Key terrain are the ridge lines, which dominate the area, and the ford over the river. Decisive terrain is the village of Schmela, which controls east-west movement along the road. Avenues of approach include across the open ground and through the forest following the south bank of the river. I assess the enemy are in defence. Most likely the Russians will hold the line running from Hill 226 and the ridgeline through the village to the ford. The village of Schmela will be the centrepiece of the defence. Infantry here can cover the open ground to the northwest and fire upon or counterattack the flank of any German assault through the forest. The Russian right flank will be held by anti-tank guns on the ridgeline of Hill 226, supported by tanks in hull-down positions on the reverse slope. The tanks will also be able to move to support the infantry. The Russian left flank will consist of infantry forming a line facing west either side of the ford, blocking any attempt to move through the forest or along the frozen river. This plan for defence would cover likely German approaches, each position providing mutual support while allowing flexibility to reinforce either flank or the centre. Alternatively, the Russians could decide that attack is the best form of defence. Anti-tank guns and machine guns in concealed positions in Schmela could cover the open ground and block any German tank or infantry attack. Meanwhile, Russian infantry could attack west along either side of the river, with tanks using the frozen riverbed to punch a hole in the German lines. Once the forest was secure, the Russians could swing north and outflank Hill 229 and the ridgeline to the west. Any Germans that successfully moved past Schmela would be cut off and isolated, with Russian troops in their rear. One option open to the Germans is to essentially reverse that last Russian plan. The 8.8cm anti-tank guns and the Tiger I would cover the open ground to the east from Hill 229 and the ridgeline. This would deny use of the open ground to Russian tanks, and they could fire on any positions in Schmela. Meanwhile, the infantry, tanks and half-track would form a giant wedge to drive through any Russian positions in the forest. The infantry would clear the ground, with tanks providing close-in fire support from cannons and machine guns, with the half-track in reserve for added firepower or flanking attacks on strongpoints. This attack would clear the forest all the way to Hill 227, then swing north to cut off, then destroy any Russians in Schmela or Hill 226. The advantage of this plan is that it maximizes firepower at the point of decision. The disadvantage is that it does not make best use of the mobility of the tanks and treats them just as mobile pillboxes. So, my preferred option is similar to the first, but making better use of the tanks. Again, the 8.8cm anti-tank guns and the Tiger I would cover the open ground to the east from Hill 229 and the ridgeline. Von McDowell and the Panzer IV F2, supported by another 4F2 and the Panzer IV-D, would be in Doppelreihe formation. The tanks would charge over open ground, rapidly assaulting Hill 226 and then moving on to Hill 227. The infantry would also form a wedge or Keil and clear south of the frozen river, linking up with the tanks on the far side of Schmela. The half-tracks will provide ample fire support in the dense forest. The advantages of this approach include better use of speed and shock provided by the tanks, a flanking rather than frontal assault, and removing the need for a direct assault on Schmela. This illustration from the manual shows the initial two forms of development of a platoon: double column, Doppelreihe, and platoon wedge, Zugkeil. Von McDowell stamped his feet on the frozen ground, trying to get warm blood to flow through his cold feet. Back at Schmela again. And not the first time the Kampfgruppe was attacking over ground it previously held. Field Marshal Manstein's counterattack was a great success, but counterattack is a tactic to recover from the defensive. This war should have been over in 1941, or at least in 1942. Yet here he was in his second winter on the Eastern Front. February 1943, and still fighting over a small village. How much longer must this war go on? I have now moved my troops into position and will execute the plan in real time. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the various courses of action and if you have identified a viable alternative. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And so we begin. Achtung Panzer. KV-1S on Hill 227. Only the Tiger has the shot. Not the other tanks. Hit and destroyed. The KV-1S joins the hulks of 5 Russian tanks from the previous engagement. Do they never learn? Another tank, attacking from Hill 226. 6 German gun barrels swivel into position, racing to be first. The T-34 is hit and destroyed. To the south, Lieutenant Schadel orders the German infantry to commence the assault. Schellenberg, in the half-track, moves up the road in support. Von McDowell orders Panzer forwards. .8cm rounds crack over their heads, and a T-34 flame tank is damaged. The tank presents a helpful broadside on Hill 227 and is destroyed. The crew bail out and run away. One more occupant of the tank graveyard. Russian artillery now opens up on the ridgeline of Hill 229. The Tiger is fine, but the guns are exposed. German infantry crawl through the forest towards Golkov's house. A machine gun covers down the frozen riverbank. The tanks advance slowly over open ground.
Stellungswechsel ausgeführt.
As artillery shells burst on the ridgeline, von McDowell decides to speed up the assault on the Russian back line. Schnell, he orders. The Panzers charge forward to Hill 226.
Противник аннулировал свое предложение о мире.
Stellung eingenommen.
No sign of Russians at Golkov's house. And Altrichter orders his squad forward into the house. Shadel orders the rest of the platoon to flank through the forest. Von McDowell leads his Zug across the frozen creek. If the Russians had placed an anti-tank gun in Schmeller, it would have some nice flanking shots.
Stellungswechsel ausgeführt.
Противник предложил прекращение огня.
Salzmann bogs near the creek line.
Gebiet gesichert.
Altrichter takes Golkov's house. Waldmann will set up the MG42 to fire from the house. Shadel expects the Russians at the ford. The infantry continue to advance through the woods.
Stellungswechsel ausgeführt. Der Schnee hält uns auf.
Противник предложил прекращение огня. Противник аннулировал свое предложение о мире.
Truppe umgruppiert. Stellung eingenommen.
The reserve squad and flanking machine gun hurry forward. Meanwhile, Schickner in the half-track starts an outflanking move on the ford.
Stellungswechsel ausgeführt. Truppe umgruppiert. Stellung eingenommen.
Von McDowell locates the enemy 120mm mortar. This is a threat to the 8.8cm guns. The tank crests and Bayerline gets the shot.
Противник предложил прекращение огня. Спасайся, кто может!
Ausgeschaltet.
Hit and destroyed.
Stellungswechsel ausgeführt.
Находимся под огнем!
Shadell orders the infantry Zug forward, to the ford.
Stellungswechsel ausgeführt.
The tanks target the mortar crew as they run away.
Neutralisiert. Gebiet gesichert.
The Panzer Zug takes Hill 226.
Stellung eingenommen.
And assaults towards Hill 227.
Противник предложил прекращение огня.
Obergefreiter Schellenberg takes his half-track on a flanking movement of the gun pits near the ford. Russian infantry, withdrawing west from the ford. The mortar opens a fire mission.
Противник аннулировал свое предложение о мире.
Der Schnee hält uns auf.
McDowell's turn to become mired in the soft ground between the ridgelines. The mortar is in a poor firing position and moves forward. McDowell targets more Russians in the open. Tank crew.
Stellung eingenommen.
The mortar now sets up.
Stellungswechsel ausgeführt.
Противник предложил прекращение огня.
Achtung Panzer! Two T-34 in the low ground on the road to Kupyansk.
Der Schnee hält uns auf.
Ефрейтор! Спасите меня!
Zeltman fires first and damages the T-34. But his Panzer is exposed and mired. Oberpanzerschütze Brin rapidly reloads. Rain and McDowell race forward to assist.
Воздух!
Another shot and the T-34 is immobilized.
Ефрейтор!
The second T-34 is damaged. Zeltman's crew are doing great work.
Truppe umgruppiert. Der Schnee hält uns auf.
Rain's Panzer is also mired short of the ridgeline.
В укрытие!
Противник предложил прекращение огня.
Stellung eingenommen. Stellungswechsel ausgeführt.
Brin fires and the second T-34 is immobilized. McDowell targets the first tank.
Спасайся, кто может!
Gebiet gesichert.
Спасайся, кто может!
Находимся под огнем!
Ziel neutralisiert.
But Rain fires first and gets the kill. McDowell takes Hill 227.
Ziel ausgeschaltet.
The crew abandon the second T-34.
Gebiet gesichert.
Minor victory. The battle ended because the Russians fled the battlefield. The Germans gained control of the area and the operation is over. The operation ended because the Russians routed. You, Herr von McDowell, gained 2 campaign points. Your group commander urges you on to more and greater victories. Once again, the Germans suffered no losses in men or equipment. Russian losses were 10 killed, 9 wounded, 3 prisoners, 4 tanks destroyed, 1 tank captured, and 1 120mm mortar destroyed. Let's examine the Kampfgruppe. Well, Major von McDowell is awarded the Knight's Cross. Gefreiter Bayerlein on the 7.5cm gun is awarded his 2nd War Merit Badge. Oberpanzerschütze Rudolfer, the gunner in Rhein's Panzer IV-D, is awarded the Iron Cross Second Class. Well deserved all. Gefreiter Bayerlein is credited with a tank kill and shares credit with Gefreiter Feutinger for the 120mm mortar kill. Klees and Altrichter's squads showed bravery in their advance through the forest. Oberpanzerschütze von Schmerling and Struve share credit for a tank kill, the KV-1S. And Zeltmann's tank crew deserve special mention for their bravery at Hill 227, facing down 2 T-34. Oberpanzerschütze Rudorfer is credited with a tank kill. And Lieutenant Baumann and Oberkanonier Buhlmann share credit for a tank kill. Once again, morale, leadership and experience are up across the Kampfgruppe. So, what did we learn? This battle belonged to the Panzers, claiming 2 of the tank kills, 1 tank captured and the mortar kill. And the Panzers were ably supported by the 8.8cm guns and the Tiger I, who accounted for another 2 tanks. The infantry attack in the south was solid and would have achieved its objectives in time. But the panzer attack in the north, under cover of the guns, demonstrates the whole point of panzer attacks. Speed and shock action carry the day. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.